How should I start the episode? I don't know. Well, just come back to me later.
Eureka! I've got it!
Thank you for watching. March 26th, 2210. Charlie Gent has been re-elected to a second term as president, with a whopping 60% of the vote. The president's first goal is reforming the Martian colonial government, which was formed rapidly after Earth was decimated by its own nukes. The hastily formed government has many flaws that have led to complications, even small amounts of corruption. Now that portions of the budget have been set aside to the military, some of the money doesn't always reach its intended destination. April 8th, 2210. The MCS Lagrange discovered something rather monstrous on Beryllium 6A. One of the mountain ranges of the planet is actually the outer membrane of a gigantic egg. It's uncertain what behemoth could have laid such an egg, but that won't stop us from studying it, from a safe distance, of course. May 3rd, 2210. The MCS Hawking has entered the Ionades system, which is in the Demon's Eye Nebula, which blocks all outside sensors and communications. So the Hawking will be able to send information to us, but we will not be able to send information to the Hawking until they leave the nebula. February 21st, 2211. While conducting surface scans of Ionades 2, Captain Theodore Wheeler and the crew of the MCS Hawking have discovered an artificially carved slab of stone with some form of alien writing on it. The xenobiologist and linguist on board will attempt to translate the language on the slab. When the Hawking makes its next stop at Mars, the slab will be transferred to the Science Directorate for further study. July 11th, 2211.
Security authorization accepted.
The Martian Security Council has been reviewing the information gathered from the Russian Federation's bunker, and Cornish Ratbeard, Commissioner of the Security Council, has submitted his report.
The computers in the bunker were wiped clean, but we were able to recover some bits of information, including the Russian detection of nuclear launches, and that they responded in kind. This does mean that the Russians did not launch a first strike, they launched it in retaliation. Sadly, we were not able to recover information relating to who launched the first nukes. We will be focusing on the information gathered from the Chinese bunker next.
This report has been classified top secret. Divulging any of the information stated carries a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. August 5th, 2211. With the construction of the 5 Tomcat-class vessels, a command structure for the military needs to be established. The 5 vessels will form a fleet named the 1st Peacekeeping Division, and will be commanded by Admiral Carly Slaughter, who was the only military strategist on Mars. She is the daughter of an admiral that served for the United States Space Force before he retired and moved to Mars. The 1st Peacekeeping Division's primary goal is law enforcement and the overall protection of Mars. October 1st, 2211. The MCS Lagrange reports that Gopha 1 in the Gopha system is a protoplanet, a very young planet barely 1 million years old, much younger than the rest of the planetary bodies in the system. How this planet came to be so late is unknown, but studying it should provide valuable research on how planets are formed. January 15th, 2212. The MCS Hawking has found some kind of silicon-based lifeform that inhabits a vast network of tunnels beneath the barren surface of Sysmac 1. There is evidence to suggest that they possess a rudimentary form of intelligence. The xenobiologists on board are excited to study them. July 18th, 2212. Captain Theodore Wheeler has discovered an abandoned space station in orbit of the asteroid WH-19. The station had some form of cloak that disguised it from our sensors, but its effects dissipated as the Hawking got closer. No life signs were detected on board the station, and it seems to have sustained battle damage, as there are multiple large gashes through the hull. Captain Wheeler decides to take an away team to investigate. The station was not as empty as we once thought. In fact, the team discovered long-dead corpses of a roach-like creature. The automated defenses that killed the other aliens were still active, but the away team was able to avoid and disable them. Now that the station has been secured, the team gathers all information that they can get their hands on, and the station's location is sent back to the Science Directorate for further investigation in the future. September 8th, 2212. The Martian Science Directorate has commissioned 2 new Earhart-class exploratory vessels, named the MCS Tyson, named after Earth astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, and the MCS Sagan, named after Earth astrophysicist Carl Sagan. The MCS Tyson will be commanded by Captain Scarlett Pratt. The MCS Sagan will be commanded by Captain Jonathan Brown. The Tyson is being sent into the Demon's Eye Nebula, and the Sagan is being sent to explore the edge of the galaxy. November 26th, 2212. The gas giant of Nifra 3 seems to have colossal kelp-like flora floating in its upper atmosphere. These floating kelp are hundreds of meters long and have giant leaves all tightly winded around a central tube filled with plant sap. These tubes seem to easily transport the absorbed gases from the leaves up to the translucent roots where sunlight is converted into nutrients via photosynthesis. January 13th, 2213. The Science Directorate has developed new sensor and communications equipment to add to our ships and bases. The new communication systems should allow us to penetrate the Demon Eye Nebula's interference, allowing two-way communications with the MCS Hawking and Tyson. However, it will be very spotty, but it's better than no communication at all. May 2nd, 2213. Captain James Woodard has made a substantial discovery on Tiramore A. Somehow, life composed entirely of plasma has managed to evolve on this star. Unfortunately, the sun's thermal radiation has proven too much for the Lagrange's shields, so it cannot get any closer. To get any closer, we would need stronger shields and sensors designed to not be affected by the thermal radiation. June 8th, 2213. Under President Charlie Gent's Outpost Initiative, 3 new Galileo-class outposts have been built in the Maelstrom, Gaffa, and Ryama systems. The next batch of outposts should be ordered within the next few years, although the cost of maintaining the outposts means that without more funding, we will not be able to afford any more after this next set. September 10th, 2213.
Security authorization accepted.
The Martian Security Council has finished its review of the information gathered from the People's Republic of China's presidential bunker, and the Commissioner of the Security Council has submitted his report.
So the Chinese computers were not wiped like the Russian computers, but they did decay over time, especially their storage devices. We discovered that the Chinese also did not perform a first strike as they were only responding to the Russian launch. And since we also know that the Russians did not launch first, this leaves very few countries that had first strike capabilities. So we've decided to start looking into the data recovered from the United States bunker.
This report has been classified top secret. January 26th, 2214. The MCS Hawking has discovered a large amount of ship remnants on the asteroid MF981 in the Syzygia system. The ships seem to have been intentionally driven into the asteroid for what we believe was a thruster test. After performing a deep scan, we have found one ship in particular which seems to have its thrusters intact. An away team has been sent to recover the thruster so we can study it further. The thruster appears to use technology somewhat similar in purpose to afterburners that were used in some military aircraft on Earth. With some adjustments, we could add this technology to our vessels for an added speed boost. April 16th, 2214. While surveying Syzygia 1, the MCS Hawking detects that the planet's core is incredibly hot, and the surface temperature is remarkably higher than one would expect from a world of this type. Further long-term study would be needed to understand the geological interactions of the planet's tectonic plates and its core. November 21st, 2214.
Security authorization accepted.
The Martian Security Council has finished its investigation into the data recovered from the United States of America's presidential bunker, and the Commissioner of the Security Council has submitted his report.
There appears to have been a firefight in the bunker before the nukes were even launched. We've recovered only a few computers that survived the firefight, and according to the logs, the United States detected missile launches from China and North Korea at the United States and her allies. The bunker was also experiencing a communications error, which meant the president was not able to contact any other world leader to verify the launches. Now, of course, the president is obligated to launch a retaliatory strike, but he ordered all of his nuclear silos to stand down. The vice president apparently refused to follow the order and demanded that the nukes were launched. We don't know the precise order of events here, but shortly after, the bunker's security team detected weapon discharges and initiated a complete lockdown. At some point, the vice president was able to order the launch of the entire nuclear arsenal of the United States, which did start the end of the world. What we don't know is if the United States launched first, how did they detect incoming missiles when there were none? The current working theory is someone tampered with the systems in the bunker, or it was being hacked by an outside force.
All information has been classified top secret, and the decision on whether or not to release this information to the public falls to President Charlie Ghent. August 27th, 2215. Upon closer inspection, the MCS Lagrange found a collapsed object on the asteroid 6467D in the Hmmmmmm system. The object appears to be an alien probe. It has rudimentary solar collection and radio transmission capabilities. Interestingly, the probe was carrying a disc that is remarkably similar to our own golden record carried on all of our vessels. Unfortunately, the music on the disc was not very good, to us at least. It was most likely designed for audio-sensory organs that are very different from our own. This cultural artifact will be transferred to the Science Directorate. December 14th, 2215. The MCS Sagan found alien computers and datapads in a crashed ship on Rigat 4. The data found appears to detail the terms and conditions for a trilateral trade treaty between three major alien powers that once dominated this region of space. Context eludes us and the details are meaningless to us, but Captain Jonathan Brown believes that the data will prove invaluable to improving our ability to translate alien languages. February 28th, 2216. The Science Directorate has developed enhanced exoskeletons that can be connected directly to the user for instantaneous response time. The military applications were brought up, but quickly dismissed and turned towards civilian uses, especially those in industrial applications. March 18th, 2216. There is clear evidence that a space battle took place in close orbit of Alpha Lyncus 3 at some point in the last 5,000 years. The surface on one side of the planet is ravaged by craters from stray weapons fire. Scans taken by the MCS Tyson has revealed several ship hulls on the surface. Though these wrecked ships are all in very poor condition, the fact that anything remains after all the damage they must have sustained is a testament to their durability and reliability. Captain Scarlett Pratt has suggested the Science Directorate prepare an expedition to sift through the debris for any valuable technology. The Science Directorate has approved the idea, and Captain Scarlett Pratt has been ordered to lead it. July 8th, 2216. The MCS Hawking has found another world with well above average core temperatures. The tectonic plates on this world seem to be very stable. This is probably thanks to a few very large volcanoes that regularly release pressure that builds up beneath the plates. Further study will be required to see how the liquid mantle interacts with the dense metal core of the planet. September 22nd, 2216. The expedition team under Captain Scarlett Pratt has finished their expedition on Alpha Lyncus 3 and returned to the MCS Tyson. Thankfully, the starship graveyard on the surface proved to be a technological treasure trove. Studying the remains of the ships has advanced our research in multiple fields by several years, and there are yet more things to discover. Plans for a permanent science outpost have started. It should provide a great benefit to many fields of research. February 28th, 2217. The Martian Colonies were formed after Mars lost contact with Earth and detected nuclear detonations all across the planet. The governor of Mars ordered all available ships, whether they be military, police, or civilian, to assist in the evacuation of people from Earth. At this time, it took about 7 days to go from Mars to Earth. By the time the Martian relief fleet arrived, Earth was completely decimated. Roughly 6 million people were saved by the fleet. Before the war, Earth's population was estimated at roughly 9 billion. Mars was separate from any of Earth's governments and was under the control of the United Nations, and the only government on Mars was the governor and her cabinet of advisors. Mars had no federal government or constitution. A majority of the Martian population were scientists and their families. With the destruction of Earth, Mars experienced severe resource shortages, including water and food. So the terraforming of Mars had to be put on hold to focus on food production and mining to sustain the planet. During all of this chaos is when the Martian Provisional Government was formed. But now Mars is self-sustaining and more. We have reached out to the stars and found wonders that none thought possible, but we are held back by our inefficient and partially corrupt government. President Charlie Gent has been working with the Martian Provisional Congress and the Supreme Court for the past 7 years to design a new constitution. But a government that radically changes itself without the consent and will of the people it represents is no better than a dictatorship. So the choice is given to the public, and so is the name of our new government. The Martian people voted 86% in favor of the new constitution and government. The most popular name was the United Martian Republic. Under the new constitution, the Outer Space Treaty is no longer law. It is a constitutional amendment, but the clause restricting the amount of weapons on vessels has been removed and is now governed entirely by the Martian Congress. The amendment still bans all weapons classified as WMDs by Congress. The Martian Science Directorate has been transformed into a federal agency that reports to the President instead of having no direct oversight. The Martian military has also been reformed in this process. It is still primarily a peacekeeping force, but it now has contingencies in place for dealing with any foreign power that we may meet. The military's budget is now reviewed every 5 years instead of every year, as this should provide a more stable military. April 24th, 2217. The new budget has allotted more funds to build new outposts and bases. The Outpost Initiative has been shut down and transferred to a new program named the Expansion Project, which is still under the Martian military. President Charlie Gent has ordered 3 new outposts in the Beryllian, Tiramor, and Ionides systems. The outpost in the Ionides system will be equipped with specialized communication systems that should allow for reliable two-way communications from inside and out of the Demon's Eye Nebula. May 23rd, 2217. The UMRS Hawking has discovered an abandoned solar sail ship in orbit of Jamar C4. The sublight vessel was built by an unknown alien culture, and it appears to be several thousand years old. One of the massive sails has a large tear where some kind of object passed through, most likely a meteoroid, which appears to have disabled the vessel. Although the technology used on the vessel is severely outdated, it does possess some interesting design choices that we would not have necessarily picked. August 5th, 2217. The UMRS Lagrange found a massive automated drill on the asteroid M423. The drill has dug itself into the vast depth of the asteroid, and we have found no sign of who left it here. If we can stop the drill, we might be able to learn something about the technology used to create it before it destroys itself. A special team of engineers has been deployed to stop the drill. October 7th, 2217. Within the photosphere of Orvani B, the UMRS Sagan discovered what appears to be millions of large sheets of an unknown metal. They are being propelled by an unknown force at absurd speeds within the star itself, causing a repeated strobing effect. We have no idea as to the purpose or origin of the metals, so this will require more study. November 10th, 2217. The temperature of Cagotin 5 is several magnitudes higher than what is to be expected for a gas giant of this type. It appears an unknown material is producing a large amount of heat. The atmosphere is so hot that our probes are unable to reach the inner layer of the gas giant to study what the core could be made out of. February 13th, 2218. The Science Directorate has developed fusion power, which is a remarkably safer version of fission power or nuclear power. Fusion power has been a dream of Earth scientists for a long time, but they could never make it work. But we finally have, and it generates a sizable amount of extra power when compared to fission reactors, and none of the negatives. September 4th, 2218. The UMRS Lagrange discovered a metallic structure on the small planet Kagaton 1A. Captain James Woodard brought the Lagrange into a close orbit and disembarked with an away team to investigate the structure. Shortly after the away team enters the structure, they hear a very loud blaring alarm, and it starts counting down from 30 in English. Captain James Woodard notices what appears to be multiple nuclear devices that the Lagrange did not detect. He frantically orders the Lagrange away from the planet at maximum speed. The away team tries to disarm the nukes, but they are all in an alien language, and it would take time to translate it. The nuke goes off, but there were nukes all across the planet, and deep within its core, and the resulting explosion causes the planet to break apart violently, and destroys the fleeing Lagrange, since it could not outrun the chunks of the planet. All crew members serving on the Lagrange have been posthumously awarded the Martian Medal of Freedom for their noble sacrifice and the spirit of exploration. January 30th, 2219. Although toxic to most forms of known life, Ep2 supports a thriving ecosystem within its high-pressure atmosphere. Life here appears to use pneumonia as a replacement for water, and has developed in ways that differ significantly from our previously established ecological models. Studying the ecosystem here would greatly benefit our biological research. June 29th, 2219. The UMRS Hawking has found sentient life, but they do not have the capability of even basic space travel. They are in an early industrial stage of development, with electricity and combustion engines gradually becoming widespread. The Hawking's attempts to translate their language has allowed us to discover that they call themselves the Chim, and they have named their planet Reach. The Chim are separated by nation-states, like Earth was, and we have no way of communicating with them without traveling down to Reach. And Captain Theodore Wheeler is adamant that doing so is dangerous, because how would Earth have responded if aliens randomly landed on Earth? It would most likely have ended in violence between nation-states, and without more information on their culture, we have no idea how they would respond. The Science Directorate has no procedures in place for what to do with a pre-space civilization, so the decision falls to President Charlie Gent until Congress makes legislation on the issue. President Charlie Gent decides to leave them for now, and just observe and learn all we can, until Congress makes legislation. October 12, 2219. Captain Theodore Wheeler found structures on Ep2A. At first we believed the structures were roughly 100,000 years old, but dating suggests that they are only a few thousand years old. Captain Theodore Wheeler notes that many of the contraptions are highly advanced, and we should be able to learn something by taking them apart. December 16th, 2219. Our engineering teams managed to stop the automated drill on 6467D. The drill is a remarkable piece of machining, with a smooth surface covered in diamonds. At first glance, the whole drill seems like one solid piece, but it's simply so well put together that you can't notice the grooves and joints. Our engineers should be able to reverse engineer some of this technology. January 1st, 2220. The presidential election has begun. The primary candidates are incumbent Charlie Gent, Captain Theodore Wheeler, Governor Samuel Porter, and the head of the Science Directorate, Philip Hall. As of now, Charlie Gent is commanding the lead with an estimated 63% of the vote. Voting will begin on March 25th, and the winner will be announced the next day, and they will become president on April 1st. Thank you for watching. Check out Cornish Ratbeard on YouTube. His link will be in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and Patreon. There is also a spreadsheet that details the current state of the United Martian Republic. Thank you again for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.
Live long and prosper.